Hello, everybody. This is a class on Google searching and how to get better results through some advanced search techniques using Google. My name is Kate Krause, and my co-host is Soraya Layton. We are both librarians at the Research Medical Library at the MD Anderson Cancer Center. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with the PowerPoint slides. I apologize about that. So we're just going to jump right into using Google. We've got a lot of really great tips and tricks to show you that will save you time. I think you'll like it. And if you have any questions, just type them in the chat box and we will see if we can answer them for you. So without further ado, let's just start searching Google. You can see if you go to google.com, it's got a very basic search interface. I'm assuming you guys have used this a million times and are very familiar with using Google, but you might not be familiar with some of the more advanced search tips. So for example, instead of using just this one plain box that Google has, there is actually an advanced Google search mode, which a lot of people aren't familiar with because it's not very easy to get to. If you go to google.com, down in the right-hand corner under Settings, there is a link for Advanced Search Mode. It allows you to do a lot of different search techniques all at one time. So, for example, you can do a phrase search here. Let's do adult onset leukemia. That will search those three words together as a phrase. You could also exclude words. For example, in this box right here, it says none of these words. Let's say we're not interested in adult myeloid leukemia. So I'm going to exclude the word myeloid. I can specify language and narrow it down to English. Probably Google, since we're searching in the United States, is going to put all of the English language websites at the top anyway. I can specify region, like the United States. I can specify last update. This is really nice if you want to get the most current results. I'm going to specify past year. And let's see, I can specify sites or domains, meaning .edu or .org if I would like to. Let's try .edu. There are also a number of other things that you can search. File type, if I just wanted PDF files or Word documents. Usage rights, if I were looking perhaps for something that I could reuse in a presentation. I could search for web pages that had Creative Commons licenses that allowed users to reuse them. There's so many options on this advanced Google search page. It is wonderful. It can be a little bit overwhelming. Let's go ahead and see what our results are. And here we go. Our adult onset leukemia web results without the word myeloid in them, specified just to .edu websites. So you can see here, if we go down the list, we've got bcm.edu, we've got some other harvard.edu, cornell.edu. This is really, really nice way to search and get really more specific results than just entering in a term into that one-stop shop basic Google search box. The one problem I have with this advanced Google search mode is that once you do a search and you look at some of the web pages, you want to do another search. How do you get back to that advanced search mode? It's not anywhere here on the website. And I could, use the back arrow key 10 times to get back to it, but it's just not very intuitive where it is. So let me show you a little trick. If you go to Settings and scroll down, you can get back to the advanced search mode right here. It's really nice in that it remembers everything that you had done that original search with, so you can change it and try some different things and process your search again. Some people like this advanced search mode. Some people don't. It just depends. If you like it, it's there. It's pretty explanatory how to use it. It's very user-friendly. It gives you examples on the right-hand side. That might help you out a lot to get better results. I'm going to show you, though, just some regular Google search box tips and tricks that you can use to get better results just by using the regular Google search box. So a couple things to talk about. Let's see. Let's just type in, I don't know. Let's see, melanoma treatment. Google does some odd things. The more I research it, the more I try and figure out how it works, the more I realize it's not doing exactly what you think it's doing. So, for example, I typed in melanoma treatment. It says that it has found 51 million results. That number is not accurate at all. It is pretty much really overinflated. It's an estimate. No matter what you type in, you'll retrieve some number that ends in 00000, so you can tell it's really not accurate. I would pretty much completely ignore those numbers. I'm going to be using them, however, just to show you some examples of how to narrow your searches and the numbers of results you get, knowing full well that those numbers aren't accurate. So, melanoma treatment, for example, so many results. But what is Google actually doing? It's looking for our words, but it's not necessarily looking for them together as a phrase. What it's actually doing is inserting an and in between those two words and just looking for any websites that have those two words anywhere in the web page. Probably not what we want. So what I would recommend, a really helpful thing to do, is to put any of your terms in quotation marks. That will treat it as a phrase and keep those two words together. So we go from millions of search results to a much smaller number, more specific number, which unfortunately, of course, for this example, is not listed at the top like it was before. Google does that sometimes. Mostly it will tell you the number of results retrieved. Unfortunately, for this particular example, it doesn't. Let's try another example then. I'm going to type in juvenile diabetes in quotation marks, so it will keep it as a phrase. Let's see if that works. Yes. So for some unknown reason, it tells us the number here, but not for the previous example we used. Google does a lot of things like that. I'm telling you guys, it has a mind of its own, and it kind of decides what it thinks you want to find and searches for that. So in our list of results, we've got a lot of information. It's kind of a busy page. Usually if you're looking for medical terminology or drug names, you will find some information over here on the right and the most popular questions that people have asked using your search terms. We're just going to scroll down here till we get to our actual results below the images and start off here. We've gotten zillions of results. How has Google organized our results? I mean, it's got to put them in some kind of order, right? So how does it determine what results to put at the top? A really complicated algorithm, and it's really kind of interesting how it works. It's dependent on a lot of different variables. You will get different results when you use different computers, which is mind-boggling. Google says that it's trying to create a personalized user experience based on the results that you've looked at before, and a lot of other things. So depending on what computer you're on, you might get very different results. I know I always get very, very different results when I Google something on my smartphone than I do when I'm using a desktop or a laptop, for example. And I'll explain that in a second. So some of the ways that it organizes your results are by what you've looked at before, by the search terms that you typed in. So if it has, in this example, juvenile diabetes 10 times on a web page, it'll put that higher than if it just has a web page where it's only mentioned once. It'll also put web pages higher if it's listed in the title field rather than just the third or fourth paragraph. Those kind of things are pretty standard. That makes sense. But it will also put at the top of your results web pages that come from large organizations, universities, commercial entities, whatever. So the bigger the author, so to speak, the higher they will get in your list of results. That's why you can see here on our top 10, we've got Medline Plus, which is a huge website, very well respected. We've got ncbi.gov. Let's go to our next list. Mainhealth.organization, some really well-known ones. Wikipedia, of course, is almost always usually at the top. It will also sometimes organize your results based on your location. So we're in the United States. It realizes we're in the United States. It's putting U.S. websites at the top. Also, it might tend to put Texas results at the top of the website, of the web results. So keep that in mind. You will see different things depending on where you're searching and what computer you're searching on. Another way that it ranks your results is by what it calls usability. And that is sort of the visual representation. So when you do search on your cell phone, you'll see very different results because it's going to place higher the results that have alternate websites that are created just for an optimized display on a smartphone. So just because of the format of the web pages, it will rank those higher than other results. So that's how Google organizes your results. There's probably a lot of other factors in there, and I don't know which takes priority, but that's why you will see different results and how things are determined to be at the top of the list. All right, so a couple other things. Let's see. Those quotation marks are very helpful. I just want to make sure you realize if I don't use them, I'm going to type in the word vaccine, for example. Google will automatically search for the word vaccine. It'll search for vaccines, plural. If there's a British spelling or some other kind of spelling, it will search for that as well. It will search for synonyms like vaccinations, which is very helpful in this particular example. It has a much wider list of synonyms and quote-unquote related topics that you would realize, however. So it might be looking for vaccine, vaccines, vaccinations, all great, but it might also be looking for what it calls related terms that we don't realize, like, I don't know, immunotherapy or something much broader that is really not what we want. And that's why sometimes when you look at your list of results, you can't even find your search term in the actual web pages that it shows you. So if we don't want it to do all of that extra stuff and search for things that we don't tell it to, use those quotation marks even on single words like vaccine. That will narrow it down to searching just that word and no other derivatives. For phrases, there's a couple of ways that you can sort of tweak them that are helpful. So I'm going to go back to, let's see, adult leukemia. Let's do that. That will search those two words together in that order. But there's a lot of different types of adult leukemia. There's adult myeloid leukemia, various different ones. If I want to find those, this search will not retrieve those. So what I need to do is use the asterisk, the star right there, inside that phrase. That will, it's sort of a placeholder for a word. In every single other database on the face of the planet, the asterisk, you put at the end of a word and it represents possible letters. So that will get various word endings. Not in Google, though. It represents a word and one word only. So if I search in a phrase, adult star leukemia, I will come up with results like, let's see, adult acute leukemia, adult T-cell leukemia, and things like that. I can also do 2 stars if I want to. that will have 2 words in that phrase. So we've got adult acute lymphoblastic leukemia, for example. This is really helpful if you have, various different phrases that you want to search all at the same time. But you have to be careful. By putting that star in there, you're telling it has to have 2 words in the middle. So that would not retrieve just simply adult leukemia. If you want to search all the possible phrase variations, here is a really neat search tip that nobody knows about. It's hard to find information on it, but it works really great. You can use the word around in a capital, it has to be capitalized, and then in parentheses, the number of possible words you want to be in that phrase. So this would get adult leukemia, adult onset leukemia, adult onset acute leukemia, anything from 1 to 3 words within that phrase. Really great search tip. Hope that helps you. A couple other things about searching in Google. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with what we call the Boolean operators, and, or, and not. So we've already talked about and. Google automatically ands your search term. So adult leukemia is actually the same thing as adult and leukemia. So there's no reason to use that Boolean operator and. It's automatically doing it for you. If you want to use the term or, that does work. That Boolean operator is, it does work in Google. So for example, I could do lymphoma or capitalized, or else it won't process it. Some other type of cancer, lymphatic cancer, for example. It changed it to a lowercase. That might have been because I searched it that way before. There we go. Yeah, you can see we got different results when I had it in lowercase than when I did it in uppercase. So very important to capitalize that. The not Boolean operator, if you want to exclude websites that have a particular word, you don't use the word not, you use just a little minus sign. So for example, here is a fun example. If I type in jaguar, I'm going to go to the image here at the menus at the top. You can see here that it is retrieved jaguars, the car, but I'm really interested in the animal. I don't want the car, so I'm just going to use the minus sign and car. And there we go. It has excluded all of the web pages that had the word car in it. I got a lot of better results that way. You can exclude even more words. It doesn't have to be just one. Jaguar minus car minus possibly automobile might make it even better. You get the idea. I'm going to get out of images, go back to all. I'm not going to go over these menu options right here. I think you guys are probably pretty familiar with them, and they're pretty straightforward. Click on images for images, click on news for news items and maps, videos, etc., etc. The one thing I think I mentioned already is if you want to get back to the advanced search mode, you can go to settings and go down to advanced search. Tools sometimes has good search parameters if you want to narrow it to a specific time frame, but I find it easier just to type in, let's see, breast cancer, let's do breast cancer treatment, and then all you have to do for a time frame is the word since, let's say 2020. And that narrows it down to all of the web pages that have either been created or updated in 2020. And you can see the years right here on the second line. They all say 2020 or 2021. So that little just simple since and a year is a great way to narrow your results to the most current website. There's a lot of great shortcuts like that I use a lot. to narrow your results. Let's try. Let me show you just a couple of them. We've got about 10 minutes left. And you know what? That's a good opportunity for me to show you this great little feature that Google offers. I can just type in set timer for 10 minutes, which is exactly the amount of time we have left. And you can see it starts a little timer. It'll beep when I get to my time. So that's great if you have a meeting coming up and you don't want to miss it. I use that a lot. All right, but back to our regular search here. Let's say I'm going to do what I recommended we do and put breast cancer treatment in quotation marks. Remember, that helps narrow your search to that phrase. There are so many things we can do. If I want, this is a great one. If I want web pages that only have breast cancer treatment in the title, all I do is type in title as one word and a colon. And now you can see that I have narrowed my results drastically from 1 million to 42,000, and they all have the word breast cancer treatment in the actual title of the web page. Great way to get more specific. I can also search particular websites really easily. I don't know about you, but whenever I go to the MD Anderson website and try to search for something, I find it doesn't work very well. So I actually use Google to search the MD Anderson website for things that I'm looking for. And to do that, you just type in your term and then the word site, the colon, and then MD Anderson or whatever, hold on, MD Anderson, I can't type today, mdanderson.org, or what other website that you want to search. And you can see here now that all of my results are from the MD Anderson website. I love that. It works so well. It's really great. It's a really nice way to see what other hospitals are doing or what other organizations have on a particular topic. You can also use the site colon shortcut to type particular countries. So since we're searching in the United States, Google is going to default to putting U.S. web pages at the top. But if we only want to find results from other countries, we can type in their 2 or 3 letter extension. For example, UK for United Kingdom. And all of our results will be narrowed to just that country. You can see here we've got .uk. And the 2 letter extensions are pretty easy. They're pretty apparent. IT for Italy. I will show you a link to where you can find all of those if you have any particular ones in mind. Let's see, what others? Oh, there's so much I want to show you guys. I think one thing that we should show you before our time is up is a help guide that we made at the library that shows you all of these Google tips so you don't have to remember them all. You can just go to our library website. Oops, got the wrong URL here. You go to the library website, which is MD Anderson. Oh, darn it. Sorry. There's different ways to get to it. The fastest one, actually, is just to type this URL in directly, and I will put that in the chat box so you guys have that link. The other way is to go to the library website, go to Find Information, and then choose it from our research guides. We have tons of really helpful research guides on Google, on searching PubMed, on using EndNote. All sorts of great things are under that research guide webpage. Wish I had time to show you more, but we are don't have enough time. We're just going to look at the Google Help Guide. And the main things that I showed you are on the Search Tips tab. So you can see here, it's got examples of all of the things that I've showed you, using the quotation marks to search for a phrase or make sure that Google only searches your word and not synonyms and other things. We've got some of the site colon and the in title colon. There's a few other ones listed here. You can specify the file type you want to find, like if you're only interested in PDFs. That can get you a lot of really great instructional material. You can also search for, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, all sorts of different kinds of files. Got a little explanation of the Boolean operators here. So instead of using the word not, for example, you use that minus sign. I hope you can see it. That's kind of a small font there. So just go to this website when you're trying to remember all of these different things for searching Google. There are some other things that would be helpful. Language, for example, has a few other tips. You can define a medical term you're not familiar with. You can actually have Google pronounce it correctly. Like, I realize that I have been pronouncing duodenum incorrectly my whole life, and no one has ever corrected me. I'm so embarrassed. You can find out how to translate things into other languages. There's a lot of other features that you can do. I wish we had more time. Time elements, so for example, if you have a webinar that is playing in Chicago and you're not sure if it's the same time zone as us, you can see what the time is in Chicago currently, or in Hawaii, or wherever you would like to be. You can do a lot of calculations and translations with mathematical formulas, like converting US dollars to any other monetary format, or converting metric to US measurements, things like that. And here is something that you might want to take a look at, is the tab for other tips and tricks. So you can search for Google in your URL address bar if you set up your browser in a certain way. And it's different for every browser. I have just put the instructions for Chrome right here, but I will add the ones for Firefox at least later in the day. So just to demonstrate that and make sure you're familiar with it, instead of going to google.com and then typing in your search term, I can actually just search for my terms up in the URL address bar, and it searches Google. I can change that to search some other search engine if I want to. It's pretty easy to do. It's like takes 3 steps, but like I said, it's different for each browser. So some other things that you can set up Google to do in your browser is, at the end of the day, when you close your computer down for the night, you can set it up so that when you open it and start your computer the next day, when you open up your browser, your Google tabs will all be there. Everything that you searched will still be there. And that's pretty nice. And then there's some funny, goofy tips and tricks that are just for chuckles. You're probably familiar with this one. Just type in do a barrel roll, and oh my gosh, Google goes crazy and spins around. So just some fun little things for you to show your friends. But our time is up, unfortunately. Oh my gosh, there's just so much more I want to show you. But it is there on our library help guide page that you have that link for. We will be sending out a link for this recording in case you want to watch it again later or show it to somebody else, and a couple of links and an evaluation of this quick little half-hour tutorial on advanced Google search techniques. Thank you for joining us. Thanks.